What's up guys, welcome to your third video about Express. Well, today we're going to talk about something different. Now remember, you've been hearing me talking about app.get, router.get, but what about router.post? Well, now let's kind of see how do we use it, right? Now, how do we define it? How about that? So app.get, you just do to use the get, you just do router.get. But to use the post, it's the same thing. You just do router.post. All right, so it takes two parameters, just the same way. The first one is where you want to send the data, and the second one is just like a function of two parameter request that and then rest, right? And always going to send something back. Now we're going to send an object this time. We're gonna send a message, something like this, right? Well, the question remains like, what is post, right? And why are we using it? Like, what is it? Why are we using it? Like, what is the purpose, right? Well, whenever you're building a full stack application, what's gonna end up happening is going to be two things. There's going to be a front end involved, and there's going to be a backend involved. Now, all this code that we've been doing, they are backend related code. They're nothing compared to the front end. The front end is the HTMLs that you saw. For example, this view with the JavaScript code. This is the front end. Now, remember, when you're building a full stack application, you're going to deal with backend and front end. They need a way to communicate. Like, they need a way to talk to each other. They need a way to interact, right? Well, not only they need a way to interact, but also they're going to be exchanging stuff. Like, they're going to be sending data to each other. Like, the backend's going to be sending some data, the front end going to be sending some data. Like, both of them's going to send stuff back and forth to each other, right? Well, post is a way to receive what the client is sending. Like, whenever the client, which is the browser, like this browser, is going to send something, well, the post is a way to receive what they're sending, right? Well, why are we using it? We're using it to get the information that the client sent, and then process it, and always send a response back to the client. Because remember, they're communicating. Like, think about it. I'm talking to one of my friends over the phone or wherever I'm talking to them to, and I say, hey buddy, I'm sending you two names of some of our classmates. And then he sent me a text saying, okay, here are the two names that I promised I'm going to send. And he's waiting to hear from me, making sure that I received the text. And I can text him back and say, hey, thank you, buddy, I received them. But if I never receive back, he might be wondering, did I really get his text? Or am I ignoring him? Or what's going on, because he sent me something and he's hoping to hear back from me. Well, think about it the same way. The client's going to send something, and the server needs always to send something back. Now, this might not make sense for now, but let's bear with me together and kind of go over it, okay? Just remember that post is a way of receiving what the client is sending. And then while we use it to get whatever the client is sending, and then we process that information and always send a response, because we don't want to let our client hanging of not having a response, all right? And this is how we define them. Now, remember about these two parameters. Just like we talked earlier, to send something back, we use rest. Well, to receive something, we use request, all right? So we're gonna use request to receive stuff from the client or browser, whatever you guys want to call it, and rest to send stuff to the browser. Here we are sending a JSON, and over here we are sending a files, like we are sending a folder, files, and different things. Now remember, we no longer need this because we used an express status to do this. So we just get rid of this earlier. All right, now let's go back to the wheel deal, the post one. Okay, now let's kind of go inside our HTML. We're going to send a form, like we're going to send a form, and in that forms we're going to have an input. We're gonna have an input, or we're going to have an input like this. We're going to have another input. Actually, we could just do something like this. How about we do input plus another input? Actually, we can do input multiplied 2 times, and then plus we do a button. We got something like this. We got a button like send data. Okay, so we got something very, very basic. And also we're going to use a package called Nodemon. If you guys don't have it, this is, instead of starting the server like this and then stop it every single time, well, what Nodemon allows you to do is, instead of stopping it, it refreshes the browser for you every single time you do some changing. So we're gonna do Nodemon npm for you guys in case you don't have it, and of course we can do Nodemon npm, and then you guys can feel free to install it globally, copy and paste this code, and then put it inside your terminal. I already have it, so no need to do this to run the files. You just do Nodemon, the name of the files, and then you're ready to go. Now let's see what we got so far. And gonna go ahead here. It's loading, and we got 2 things. We got things out, but the goal behind this is we want to be able to when we type something and enter some information, to send this stuff over to our server and then process the information and send them a response back. That's the goal. Okay, now remember, to get those data, to receive the data, is going to come from the first parameter. So we're going to console log that first parameter and see what it looks like. We're gonna do request. We're gonna see those data and see what it looks like. Okay, all right, so let's kind of see what we need. And also, to send those data here, we need something like, we need 2 attributes. We need an attribute called name, which we're gonna give them a name. We're gonna call this one username, and we're gonna call this one probably address, something very basic. This is something that you definitely need. All right, so to send those data, we can send those data 2 ways. Okay, we can send those data 2 ways. The first way is either by using the form built-in method, you know, the form built-in method, whatever they have. We can use the form, or we use some AJAX call, or we could use fetch feature, or we could use some vanilla JavaScript, which is fetch is some vanilla JavaScript, but we're going to use the jQuery AJAX one to make it easy for it. But the bottom line is, you got 2 ways of sending data to the browser, of sending data to the server. My apology, guys, to the server. So you got 2 ways. The first way is by using the for built-in method. To do this, we're going to use the action. The action is the path of where the server is waiting for that data. Now, our server is waiting for that data on a path called user. So we need to make it in order for it to match this path. And the second is, by default, the browser accepts get request. Now we need to tell it that we are sending something called post. Now we're sending data. Post means that we are sending data, we're not receiving data. Okay, so this is everything we need, but check this out now, right? When we get the data, we're going to console log this request to see what we get. And the browser is waiting on that route. The server is waiting, which is the server here. The server is waiting to receive the data on this route, and then the browser takes the action of sending the data on that route with a method called post. This is how we do it. Now let's see what happened. Refresh this again. I'm gonna enter some data. I'm gonna do ask me Sterling, and I'm gonna do whatever, blah 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 blah. This is my address, by the way, guys, and click enter. Right? So remember, when we get the data, we on the server side, we send something back, which we send an empty string. You see, we send that empty string. That means we get the data. But check this out. We are console log the request, and that's the whole request. Like, this is a long things, and you guys can definitely feel free to waste all your time to look for this data that coming in. But to make this very easy, there is a package called body parser that we're going to install. Body parser, we're going to save this as a dependencies. This package allows us to just do request that body, and we are going to be easily able to see the data that's coming. But in order to do the request that body, we need to configure it with Express. To do this, we're going to bring that package over here. We're going to do body parser. Body parser. We're going to bring that one here. Body parser. There we go. We bring body parser. And to configure it, we just do app.use, and we just do body parser inside of it and use it as a function. Something like this, very basic. This is how we configure body parser in order for us to be able to get this data now. Instead of this long object, we can get them by just doing request, which is the first parameter, that body. And now let's start our server again with Nodemon and refresh the home page. Refresh the home page and enter some data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hit send. And we are sending something back. Once again, we are sending an empty string. But check this out now. We are console log that request that body. And check this out how we see the data now. You see, we got username, Axme Sterling, and address is equal to whatever we enter. So this is working, and this is how you send and receive data. Now, what we really want to send is, we want to send them back whatever they sent, okay? So we're going to grab the username, and we're going to do request that body, which is an object, and we can just do that username to get the username, and we can get the address again. We can say address. This is going to be request, which is the first parameter, and request that body, and that body is us configuring body parser. That's what allows us to do this. If we didn't have this, we'd have seen that long massive, and this is just an object. So we're gonna do the address, that address, and now we are building something like this. And then we can set up an object we can say user. We can set up an object to send those data back. We can do username is equal username, and we can do address is equal address, something like this. Very, very basic. And then we're gonna send this user info back, saying like, we're gonna send something like user something. We're gonna send them back what they sent. Or we could do something, we receive your data. Or we can do something data. We could do this is what you sent us. And we could do something like user. So we sending them the data back that they sent, and also, you know, we receiving those data from the request that body and be able to send them back. Oops, man, I'm using Nodemon, so I should not stop it. But anyway, I stop it. It's doing it for me, and I could go back to the home page. Could go back to the home page. I'm gonna enter something again, and blah 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 blah. This is my address. Click enter. Now remember, we're sending them back what they sent us. Like, we're sending them back what they sent. And here's what we got them. We say, hey buddy, we received your data. This is what you sent, which is an object. Actually, I can just do this. This is appearing a little bit weird and something like this. Let's go back and test it one more time, just to kind of show you that we got what they're sending us. Like, we got it. And Axme Sterling, and a blah, 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 blah. And then boom. All right, we're sending them back response. And you see, we got address. We're sending them back what they sent us. And here's what they sent us. Ask me Sterling and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of we cover what we talk about, guys. We talk about post. Post is just a way of receiving what the client's going to send. Like the client's going to send some data, then we're going to receive that data. And while we use it to get the information, then process it, which we are processing the information, and then always send something back. Now we're just sending something saying, hey buddy, we received your data and here's what you sent, just something, whatever. But the bottom line is you will need post every single time you want to receive something from the browser. And the browser got two ways of sending something back. The first way, it's by using the default built-in method, which is action and then the method post. Like we do action, and action we pass it the route of where the server is waiting for it. The server is waiting for those data on that route. So we match it with the action saying, all right buddy, I know you're waiting for those data on that route. Let me take the action of sending you those data on the route. Like this is also required in order for you to see the data, because if you don't have them, then you wouldn't know what they are. This is actually required to do this. Now let's talk about the second method before we wrap this video for you. AJAX. Now I'm gonna bring jQuery here, guys. If you guys not familiar with jQuery, I'm gonna do another session about it, but feel free to explore it. So to do this, we can do this in our script right here. We do AJAX. Actually we could just do post. There's two ways with jQuery. We could do post. The route, the path that we want to send it, that's the path the browser that's waiting for it, and the data that we want to send, which is going to be the leave it here. And then this takes a function, and then we can console log something, and that thing that we go into console log, it's what's coming back from the browser. Not the browser, what's coming back from the server. And this takes a parameter. It could be anything. It could be response, and then we're gonna console log this, and this represent whatever is coming back, which is going to be this. This is what we're sending, okay? Now with jQuery, we need to do a few things. It's a little bit more complicated, and we no longer need this with jQuery. What we need to do is we need to do a click button. First of all, we're going to select the button. We're gonna say buddy, select the button, and this is going to be on. Oops, I'm spelling things out. This is going to be a callback thing. All right, let's see what we got. This is going to be a callback things, and this event is going to be on clicked. This is gonna take a parameter just to stop the browser from refreshing. And we're going to say, dear browser, stop from refreshing. And then we're going to get the username, and we're going to get the address. This is how this is going to work. We're going to get the address. Now to do this, we need to give them an ID. I'm going to go ahead and give them an ID real quick. I'm going to give them an ID. All right, ID, this one's going to be the username. And then this is going to be the address, and I'm going to select them by ID with jQuery. This is going to be me selecting them, trim them. That means there is no space. I'm going to get the value. I'm going to copy and paste this. This is going to be the same thing, and I'm going to say, all right, select this one by ID, which is the ID of username, and select this one by ID, which is the ID of address. And let's see if they spell right. We can just actually copy this to make sure we got them right. Username, copy this again to make sure we got it right. Yes, we do. Right, so when we click this button, this is going to happen. We're going to get the value, and then now we're going to set up a user object, and we're going to do username is equal username, and then address is equal address. We got something like this, right? So we got the data here within our user, and we're going to use the post now right after they clicked. Oops. We're going to use the data right after within the click to post them, and we pass this objects over here as the third parameter. Just want to show you guys how this is done. Now, this is not a jQuery thing. We won't cover this fully much, but just want to give you guys an idea. All right, so we got this here. We got the value. Can leave some comments. Getting the values here, and then sending them to our server. Boom. And this is just logging whatever response we're getting back. Okay. All right. Now let's try this out. As we go back to our page. And let's add something again. And blah, 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 blah. Now check this out. When I click send, you see the fact I console log the response, what's coming back in the server, then it console log whatever is coming back. You see that? It console log address, it console log username, and different things. So this is fun. And the other thing on the server side, we send, this is what we sent, and it's actually console logging the request right here. This is the request.body that we console logging. Well, guys, let's kind of go ahead and explain it a little bit for you, the process one more time, because I know this is a little bit confusing, might be for most of you, but let's kind of stay here a little bit. All right. Whenever you're building a full stack application, you're going to need a front end, you're going to need a back end. The thing you're going to deal with is what they call app.get and what.post. This is how you use Express. Or you can use router.get, router.post. But if you use router, you're going to need a further configuration, which we did. All right. So app.get is to send stuff to the client. Like this is how we send stuff. We're sending a JSON. We're sending a files, or we're sending some JSON again, right? But app.post is a way of receive stuff from the client. The client now want to send us those information. Like they want to send us those information. In order for us to receive it from our server, we use router.post, or we could have used app.get, app.post, whichever ones. But the bottom line is we use post to get those data. And the data are coming within one parameter, which is the first one. Remember, once again, the name does not matter, but the first one is how the data is coming in. And the data is going to come in to be weird, but we use a package called body parser to kind of, get access to those data by just doing request.body. And then in order to use that request.body, we need to configure body parser. So we do app.use to configure body parser, and then we get those data, we're building an object, and then we send those data back, okay? And then we got two ways of doing this in the front end to send those data. Either we use the form built-in method where we use action instead, we use action, and then we pass it the route that the server is waiting for, and we do post. But we can use jQuery to do this. We bring jQuery library, and then we start using jQuery over here. We do buttons, stop the browser from reloaded, and then you do this, get the value from the input, which we're getting the value from the input, build an object, and this post method takes 3 parameters. The first one is the path that the server is waiting for those data, which is this path, like the user path. That's where it's waiting for those data. So we do user, and then the second parameter is the data that you want to send, which is this data. So we just do something like user. And the second one is a callback or function that's going to return whatever the server is sending back. The server is sending this back to get access to it. Then we just console log that parameter, which is response. All right, guys. So this is everything I have for you. Now, one quick thing to do with ES6, instead of doing this, I can just do this because they have the same name, and I can do something like this. Or if I wanted to, I could do even something much better. I can destructure those data by using request.body, and I can just do something like this, username, and username, and I can do address, and I can technically delete this. And now I got something much more easier to work with. Like ES6 just make our life easier, and I have something like this. So this is everything I have for you guys. Definitely feel free to watch the video over and over, but definitely feel free, to understand how the process making, and see you guys in the next video. The next video is going to be more about us structuring the code, because now it's a little bit messy. We're doing everything in one file, so we're gonna break it down in different files. So stay tuned. If you guys like the video, thumbs up. If you guys don't like it too, don't hesitate to hit that dislike button really hard. And then if you guys want some more video of different type things you want to do, leave them in the comments. If you guys want some more videos, stay up to date, please hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned. Take care. Bye.